This week, an update looks set to change how VAR operates forever. We all know VAR has had its fair share of controversies this Premier League season, but could that all be about to change? Football's lawmakers, IFAB, have given the green light for referees to explain VAR decisions to fans during games for the next 2024-25 Premier League season. This has been trialled already in club matches in Mexico and Portugal. So how would this work, and what impact could it have? Let's break it down. Will this slow the game down even more? First things first, the obvious concern on everyone's mind is that taking time to explain VAR decisions will slow the game down even further. Based on this new approach, referees would only spend an extra 15 to 20 seconds clarifying the call over the speaker system. However, there is a case that even small added stoppages accumulate over 90 minutes to further fragment the viewer experience. On the other hand, most match-going fans have indicated they'll happily accept slightly longer check times. The trade-off for better understanding decisions outweighs minor delays. Perhaps the better question is, if enhanced communication restores faith between fans, players and officials, do added seconds really matter? Most would argue improved flow from less anger and guesswork actually balances out longer checks. There's also an expectation that as referees get accustomed to clarifying decisions, the process becomes more streamlined. The bottom line, supporters seem willing to sacrifice a little extra time for actual insight into VAR decision making. For a system intended to increase accuracy, the subsequent lack of understanding has caused enormous frustration. Giving referees the platform to explain their calls always seemed a logical step. Trial results suggest doing so needn't bring games to a complete standstill. While any lost time is undesirable, the consensus indicates providing transparency is the greater priority, even if short delays increase. Will it fix VAR's inconsistency? The biggest complaint surrounding VAR is the lack of consistency in decision making, especially compared to the other competitions. Earlier this season against Tottenham, Liverpool had a goal disallowed for offside. However, VAR determined that the goal should have stood as the player, Luis Diaz, was not offside. Due to a communication error, the on-field decision was not overturned and the goal remained chalked off. Fans often feel aggrieved seeing very similar incidents judged differently, depending on the competition. Understandably, this creates perceptions of bias, confusion over interpretation of laws, and frustration. The handball rule, arguably the most controversial, causes a lot of confusion. If you asked a football fan today, what does a handball look like? They wouldn't even know themselves. The question is, could the new VAR rule help bridge this consistency gap? Potentially, yes. If referees clarify why incident X was penalised, while incident Y wasn't, it sets clearer precedents on the types and severity of fouls that warrant intervention. Supporters will gain more insight on where thresholds lie in terms of interpreting subjectivity, like clear and obvious error. This builds expectations over time around how different fouls and handballs get officiated. Rather than appearing random, fans and players will have tangible reference points to compare decisions against going forward. That consistency and understanding breeds less angst when calls either go for or against your club. Even if you disagree, at least you can pinpoint why based on past rationale. There'll likely never be 100% uniformity. Many rules remain open to some subjectivity, and human error is inevitable. But enhancing transparency certainly moves the dial toward more predictable interpretation of laws and consistent decision making. And that accountability will also incentivize more consistency. What can football learn from other sports? Unlike sports like rugby, cricket, and NFL, football has been remarkably opaque about explaining referee decisions to fans. In rugby union, on-field referees wear microphones and engage in constant dialogue with fans during play. For TMO reviews, supporters hear the exact conversations taking place before the final call. There is complete, unfiltered transparency. In cricket, umpires clearly signal decisions with their hands and are in position to answer player queries if needed. When DRS is triggered, stadium scoreboards display the ball tracking and edge detection technology for fans to understand reviews. In the NFL, referees vocally announced each penalty or flag, citing basic details over the mic. Video boards then play replay footage of the specific infringement for confirmation. Allowing fans visual evidence gives full context. In tennis, line judges immediately signal calls and can clarify if asked by players or umpires. The point is clear. most other professional sports treat attendees with far more respect regarding communication of pivotal calls. Football allowing referees to discuss VAR outcomes with fans during the match would mark a step toward matching this gold standard. So will this move be for the good of the game? In short, absolutely. Allowing referees to clarify VAR calls aligns football with most other major sports in promoting transparency. Sports like rugby, cricket and tennis let officials communicate openly with fans during games. Football has lagged behind rivals in this area. Technology like VAR aims to improve accuracy alone, but devoid of any context around implementation, it spawns controversy, confusion, and distrust when contentious calls arise. Empowering referees to elucidate decisions in real time will promote vastly needed transparency. It also restores football's roots as a community experience. Clarifying pivotal calls helps mend strained referee-supporter relations. Even if fans disagree, connecting with the intent behind each call diffuses anger and toxicity targeted at officials. Ultimately, football is nothing without community. True, clarifying decisions risks slowing the game down marginally, but when balanced against redressing transparency imbalances, most supporters consider added context worth that fraction of lost tempo. The bottom line echoes across sporting codes. Respecting your fans means speaking to them directly via officials. Giving referees the microphone to explain decisions promises to usher in a new era of clarity between fans, players, and officials. Will referees clarifying decisions bring much needed understanding around divisive VAR calls? Or could added stoppages threaten football's flowing nature despite increased transparency? Let me know your thoughts below. If you like this video, don't forget to check out our last video talking about what key elements Liverpool take advantage of to win the historic quadruple this season.